Welcome in to the match day 4, 5, 6, whatever the number is, betting the pitch with your host, real_G Warner, going through the English Premier League, Spanish La Liga, Italian Serie A, the German Bundesliga, as I wear a kit from Sports Club Freiburg, off to a great start under Julian Schuster, and also the French League. So we're going to cover the 5 European soccer leagues. We missed Friday, but oh boy. Into the I guess I was running the other video in the background. My bad. Anyway, we're here. It's time to get into it. We're going to find best bets across all the various leagues. We're going to have an ultimate best bet end of show. If you're not following on YouTube at the real_G Warner or Instagram at the real_G Warner, that's the best spot to get the 1 minute clip of all the best bets from the various leagues. If you want to stick with me for about an hour on this episode, thank you for doing so. If you don't want to miss any of these episodes, make sure you subscribe to Betting the Pitch on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. And if you leave a 5-star review with some sort of comment, I will read it on the next post, no matter what it is, assuming it is not hate speech. But I can't imagine any of you listeners would think about that sort of thing. So we're going to start on this episode where the money is, and that is the English Premier League. So let's get into it. We'll start with West Ham hosting Chelsea in the early matchup on Saturday morning here in the United States. It is West Ham a half a goal underdog right now. Over under is 3.25. Juice very heavily to under, with a lot of juice on West Ham as well. West Ham very fortunate to get a late draw against Fulham in last week's matchup. Danny Ings coming off the bench, scoring a goal actually to help me or I guess help his side instead of usually what he does is kill unders. But game still stayed under and got a draw for West Ham, which was huge. The big question is, after seeing Chelsea really get controlled, they did save a penalty, which was really huge in the eventual game that Chelsea ended up winning. Christopher Nkunku comes off the bench, uses strength that I don't think I've ever seen him, despite following his career a lot at Red Bull Leipzig. But he was awesome, had one great play where they stretched deep with Jadon Sancho, who got substituted on, new signing at halftime, I guess on a loan transfer, but will be made permanent next season, doing some creative accounting, I think. But Chelsea, so this is the big question. They were on the road at Bournemouth, and things did not go great offensively. They scored a ton of goals a week before that against a very defensive team like Wolverhampton. West Ham, I think, are going to play a very defensive brand under Julian Lopetegui, the former Sevilla manager. Wolverhampton, short stint as well, manager there, and very short stint, even shorter at Real Madrid, I think. But ultimately, I think Chelsea are in a position where they're going to try to outscore everyone, but I still don't trust them necessarily to do so or to do that, especially away from home. I think they need to prove, especially figure out a lineup that they're going to stick to. I imagine Sancho will probably start. He got a ridiculous man of the match award for playing 45 minutes and getting an assist instead of Nkunku making the whole play, but he's English. So of course, the English people are going to vote for that. And they will not win another trophy in their, hopefully in my lifetime. So that'd be great. But I'm interested in West Ham getting a half of a goal at home, also into the under 3.25. It's big. Anything above 3, I'm certainly leaning under, as I lean under 2 in a lot of these matches that are kicking off in other leagues. But there haven't been as many goals as expected in a lot of the English Premier League matches, and I continue to want to ride that streak. Move next to the big window on Saturday morning here in the United States. Saturday, I think 3 p.m. ish in England. But Aston Villa currently a 1-goal favorite to the Wolverhampton Wanderers. Juice is about split there, and the total is 3. Juice more to the over than to under. In terms of movement, haven't seen a ton. Maybe a little money coming in on Wolves, but which is a little bit different away from home. But Aston Villa did play Champions League midweek, and Wolves got to prepare for this matchup. So this is going to be a big test for Aston Villa. They've been playing your Europa League or Europa Conference League in previous years, and that's been, I think, more strenuous than a Champions League schedule. You are able to rotate more, but the timing is not great. So I guess still a big question on how Aston Villa will handle the Champions League stretch season, especially with 8 matches as opposed to 6. But they're not used to playing 6 in a Champions League format where they got to play their best players in midweek. I still like Wolves. I think they're a great defensive side. Their offense is really, really problematic, and I don't think that changes here necessarily. Aston Villa's defense is great. They play a very high line, which is risky, but it works very well at home for them. I wonder if it's like a small field like Rayo Vallecano, honestly. But also, I just don't think that Wolves are strong enough offensively. So I feel like under is probably my biggest interest in this one, though I do lean to the Wolves side. I like getting a full goal of insurance from a team not used to playing a Champions League match midweek and having to do so this week before as we get the season started. Moving next to Fulham, mostly Newcastle. Fulham a pick 'em right now. All the juice in Newcastle on the road. Over under is 2 3/4. Juice all the way to over. Hoping this one hits 3. Newcastle, I'm still not a believer in their road offense. Fulham, I'm sure kicking themselves for letting 3 points go and settling for just one in that matchup, thanks to Danny Ings coming off the bench in stoppage time. But I think Fulham's the side I want here. I feel like they're playing a more progressive style this year. I'd like to see this get to a quarter of a goal at home so that you can win on a draw instead of pushing. But I still like to pick them, especially getting odds. I'm wondering to see where this number will move. I don't know that it'll move too much necessarily, but ultimately, it looks like we've seen Newcastle as a quarter goal favorite drop to pick them, so maybe it continues going in that direction. It seems like Fulham are getting bet, and I think it's deserved because of how poor that Newcastle have been away from home. Waiting for this one to hit 3 as well. Just want to bet against Newcastle really in general, and especially it all stems from betting that Newcastle road offense. Move next to Leicester hosting Everton. Currently, Leicester City a pick 'em with all the juice. Over under is 2.5. Juice more to the under slightly. In terms of where this one has gone, it looks like Leicester have been getting bet, newly promoted despite their fanfare, big name from winning the Premier League title a couple seasons ago. My big question is what is this Leicester team going to do? They played very well last week, but we'll see if they can put 2 of those back to back. Steve Cooper, still a defensive manager, got really great results at home with Nottingham Forest, but that might have been a Forest thing more so than a Steve Cooper thing. I think Everton have shown by taking 2 goal leads against both Bournemouth and their matchup last weekend on the road at Aston Villa that they really should keep those sort of things, but unfortunately threw those away. The big question is, can you trust them to defend a lead? I'm not sure you can, so I'm waiting to see. Probably won't play pick'em, even getting odds right now. I'll be waiting to see Leicester get pushed to a quarter goal underdog, or excuse me, quarter goal favorite, which would make Everton a quarter goal underdog. I think until I see that, I'm not really interested in backing the side. Biggest interest in this one is an under 2.5, as I really just don't trust either of these offenses, despite what we've seen from Everton scoring goals in the past 2 matches. I think they're going to be a lot more defensive, and I think Sean Dyche, knowing that his team can't hold leads, is going to do a lot to try to help Michael Keane back there. He's been filling in for Jared Branthwaite. Moving next to Liverpool, hosting Bournemouth. Currently, Liverpool a 1.5 goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 3.5. Juice slightly more to under. Bournemouth were the better team against Chelsea, I thought, for most of the game. Maybe struggled a little bit late, and Chelsea certainly had a lot stronger players to bring off the bench. But Bournemouth are still a great defensive team that sit back and try to counter. I think they will play a lot less aggressively at Liverpool, which probably puts their likelihood to win this game lower, getting more than 8-1 odds on them winning right now at BetOnline. All lines coded courtesy of BetOnline, SportsBetting.ag. There are links in the podcast descriptions on both Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, plus YouTube as well. If you're looking there or listening or watching there, you get free money from signing up at SportsBetting.ag or BetOnline, and I would highly recommend taking advantage of that. Best juices out there, and it makes it a lot easier to be profitable. Anyway, Bournemouth, my interest here, I like a 1.5 goals. I like under 3.5 as well. Played the Liverpool Nottingham Forest under last weekend at Anfield, if I remember correctly. Big spread, but played under, and somehow Nottingham Forest were able to win. I think Liverpool is a very different team. They're coming off Champions League, which is difficult for them. And I think Liverpool, they weren't in Champions League last year. Arne Slot was very vocal or open about saying that. And seeing how they react to it is a question for him. So it's a question for me. I think Bournemouth is a side I'm looking to back them every week until the market adjusts. Moving next to Southampton, hosting Ipswich. Currently Southampton a quarter goal favorite, a battle of 2 newly promoted. Total year is 2.5, just all the way to over. And Southampton just haven't played good enough to deserve to be a favorite. Yes, they play great at home. Ipswich doesn't have a lot that you can really, no real track record from a long time. I think it's been 20-something years since they were in the Premier League, but ultimately, I think Southampton are going to have real trouble scoring despite good possession numbers. That makes me want to be against them. So I'll take that quarter of a goal in Ipswich, and I'll lean under 2.5. especially look like it's getting closer to 2 3/4 before kickoff on Saturday. Moving next to Tottenham hosting Brentford, currently the Tots a 1-goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over unders 3 1/4, do slightly more to under. Brentford always have good success at Man City. Played a really tight game, covered the spread. I think pushed on the total, if not keeping it under. This is another big test for them going to Tottenham, who are going to play at extremely high line and are going to be susceptible. The problem is Brentford are really built on like slow, methodical set piece scores, not really the quick counterattacks. But I guess Tottenham are open against everybody, and I just don't believe in Arne Slot's strategy, or excuse me, not Arne Slot, Ange Postecoglou, another A name. And I don't believe in it. I probably never will. Brentford +1 is more interesting to me than the under 3 1/4. I'm sure unders are possible with Tottenham, but they take so much risk with their back line and their structure that I don't think I can play it under and still watch the game without wanting to vomit. Considering I already do anyway. Moving to the nightcap on Saturday, Crystal Palace hosts Manchester United. Currently, Palace a quarter-goal underdog with all the juice. Over under is 3, juice very heavily to under all the way. Might see this one come off 3, and that's not a number I'd want to lose if I'm playing under, which I'm looking to bet Manchester United unders forever. I don't trust them to score goals whatsoever. I also don't really believe in Crystal Palace. Has had a pretty rough start so far this season. Hoping that will change in the positive direction, but like getting a quarter of a goal at home on a great home team, and don't see anything from Manchester United that really makes me want to back them here. We'll hope that the number stays where it is. Please, Manchester United, come in for kickoff, because I usually wait until a few seconds before I hit submit. Once I see lineups and such an hour before, but even more so than that. Moving to Sunday, Brighton hosts Nottingham Forest. Currently Brighton a 3/4 goal favorite. Almost all the juice on Nottingham Forest on the road. Over under is 2.5, juice to over. Big question on Nottingham Forest. How do they handle the success of winning at Anfield? And I don't know that they'll handle it well. They're a pretty big underdog here. I'm less interested in that because I think Brighton are a really good team with a no-name manager from St. Pauli in the German Liga, the second division, who moved up and I think won the league to climb up, or maybe Holstein killed it. I think St. Pauli won it, but to climb up to the Oberhausen, or the top Bundesliga, Bundesliga 1 or Ein. Nottingham Forest, to me, they're an under team. I don't really want to back their offense. I don't believe in it. Somehow they won a game last week, so maybe I'll look toward under here. Brighton is so attacking, maybe less under De Zerbi, but ultimately I think it's still going to be tough for me to want to play under 2.5, but I'll put it on the list. And last but not least, Manchester City hosts Arsenal, a big title decider. Arsenal with the Champions League midweek, as did Manchester City. Arsenal on the road, Manchester City at home, so get to stay home again. Pretty tough schedule draw. I'm sure Mikel Arteta said something about it so far. Anyway, City a half-goal favorite at home with all the juice. Over unders 2 1/4, juice all the way to over. When these two teams match up, there's very few chances taken. I think Manchester City know a draw is a big result for them to win the umpteenth straight, I think 5th straight Premier League title. Arsenal already with dropping points against Brighton. They're in tough shape, unfortunately, and are going on the road here. I expect this to be very conservative from Arsenal. I'm more interested in Arsenal as they get to 3/4 of a goal, which it looks like we might trend there. I feel like it'll probably hang at a half of a goal. Though seeing the current number with getting odds on Arsenal, it does make me a little bit excited that maybe something happens there. In terms of movement on this game, it looks like Arsenal has been getting bet despite some of the plus money odds of getting eaten up, and the totals dropped from 2.5 to 2 1/4. We'll see. I think we'll probably close 2.5, but ultimately that's what we'll find out on Sunday. I think my biggest interest in this one, Arsenal getting a half of a goal, but even more than that, under 2 1/4, or the 2.5s that are probably out there, other books as we speak. For my best bet on this matchup, I think it's hard for me to look anywhere besides that Manchester City Arsenal match, but it's also a really tough one. So I think I'll go Crystal Palace, Manchester United under 3 goals Saturday late night matchup in the English Premier League. Moving next to La Liga in Spain, as soon as my computer will catch up. It looks like that was only 14 minutes, so we're on a good pace to get to an hour probably. Saturday morning, we have Real Valladolid hosting Real Sociedad. Currently Valladolid a quarter-goal underdog at home. All the juice on Sociedad on the road. Over under is 2, just a little bit more to under. Now Sociedad played an extra match this week because they have Europa League next week. I think there's another midweek campaign or Jornada, as they call it in Spain. I don't know why that's happening. And probably for the Saudi money that they're playing a mini tournament later this season. But anyway, Valladolid, I really like the club from years back. They seem like a yo-yo team that looks like they're, if I had to make a guess, they look like they're going to be in the Segunda División next season. I don't know what to do with Valladolid. I thought they would have a great response, giving up shipping seven against Barcelona in their match last week, but ended up having a really tough, bad, awful first half. Goalkeeper looks really bad. Estonian, probably should have known that he was incapable, considering how poor that nation is. Not poor financially, but poor in the soccer world, maybe financially too. I know Kaya Canopy is a giant and used to crush tennis balls in the WTA, but that's different than here. I feel like Sociedad, though, they just can't really score goals. It's amazing how far they've fallen from Champions League group winners to where they are now. But the only way I could lean this was under two. I don't really want much to do with the Valladolid home underdog, but if there's ever a time for them to wake up and do something, it's probably now. Moving next to Osasuna hosting Las Palmas. Currently, Osasuna half a goal underdog, excuse me, half a goal favorite at home. Juice split both ways. Over under is 2.25 with the juice split as well. Osasuna have been seeing goals in their matches lately. I don't trust them to score whatsoever. They've been messing with their lineup, trying to figure out new ways to score, also finding goals off set pieces, like tricked shots that the other defense should be well aware of. Well, some of that has been put on tape now, and I think those type of goals will be less frequent. Las Palmas have been a disaster since midway through last season. They look like a relegation candidate alongside Real Valladolid, fighting for the crown in that one. My biggest interest, rather than backing Las Palmas, who were so good to me last season, is rather to go under 2.25 in that matchup. We'll move next to Valencia hosting Girona. Girona coming off a big week, hosting Barcelona, then Champions League, first Champions League match in their history. Don't expect that to be the last as a Manchester City, like minor league team essentially, but ultimately a favorite on the road at Mestalla. Valencia says something, but really it says that Valencia really struggled to start the season. Totals 2.5, juiced all the way to under. That's saying something. I think it speaks to Valencia not being able to score, but Girona are really tough to see go under because they play very high scoring matches. I think they're going to be less potent this season, and so I'll put that lean of under 2.5 on my list, but it probably won't be one of my favorites. Moving to the nightcap, Real Madrid hosts Espanyol. Currently, Real Madrid a 2.25 goal favorite. All the juice on Espanyol on the road. Over under is 3.25, juice all the way to over. It's going to be tough for you to play anybody to play anything against Real Madrid. If you're looking to bet against them, coming off Champions League, especially look to under 3.25. That's my interest in that one. I don't know that it'll make my card necessarily, but I do like it just because I think Real Madrid are going to be great at keeping clean sheets this year. I don't think Espanyol is going to threaten. The big question is how many do Real Madrid score? Moving to Sunday, Getafe hosting Leganes. Currently, Getafe half a goal favorite. All the juice on Leganes on the road. Over under is 1.75. Juice all the way to under. So don't even think I'll have a chance to play under in this one because 2 is my minimum. And that still feels low to me at times. Leganes is the side I want here. I like getting a half of a goal from a Getafe team that really they were playing a striker who then moved to midfield. I guess shows the talents of Uche, a young player. But I mean, physical team. I don't know where their goals come from. Got clean sheeted, shut out at Sevilla last weekend. And I think Leganes, certainly one of the newly promoted. They were the Segunda División campeón last season. I think they're off to a slower start, but I think they've been playing well from what I've watched. And I think they're in a good position to go to the capital and potentially get a result, though they're also a capital city club from the outskirts of Madrid as well. También. Moving next to Athletic Club hosting Celta de Vigo. Currently, Athletic Club a 3/4 goal favorite off of a match with midweek. Over under is 2.75. Use more to the under. Now, Celta, they have been scoring a ton of goals, have been conceding a lot. The latter is not surprising. The former that they score a lot is. But maybe they've been I mean, they played many games at home that they haven't gone on the road too much. It's going to be tough going to San Mamés. My interest here is rather than betting Celta de Vigo is under 2.75, as I think Athletic Club have real trouble scoring as well. Problem is, I just don't know that I want to trust Celta at this point. Moving next to Villarreal hosting Barcelona. Currently, Villarreal a half a goal underdog at home with more juice on Barcelona on the road, coming off their Champions League midweek. Over under is 3.5, juiced all the way to under. Weird to see a juiced under. We've seen Hansi Flick come on and forced a lot of turnovers with his high press, so that hasn't even relied on Barcelona to create a ton. Villarreal have looked great, and I feel like have been deserving of a lot of bets so far this season, including winning a bunch of matches late, which has killed my unders, unfortunately, but at least won the sides that I'd bet. So I guess that hasn't been too bad. I think Villarreal getting a half of a goal is my biggest interest in that one. Total, I think 3.5 is high, but probably is one I'm going to skip because Villarreal have shown they can score despite a pretty conservative defensive manager in Marcelino. Moving to the Sunday nightcap with Rayo Vallecano hosting Atletico Madrid. Currently, Rayo a half a goal underdog at home. All the juice on Atleti on the road. Over under is 2.25. Juice more to the under. And Atleti, they've looked bad on the road, and they also are coming off a Champions League tough match with Leipzig midweek and late in the week as well. I think it was on Thursday. So Rayo, always a team I want to back at home. They're my interest there. I like that half of a goal. I also like under 2.25 in that matchup too. And then Monday, we have Real Betis hosting RCD Royal Club Deportivo de Mallorca. Currently, Betis a half a goal favorite at home. More juice than Mallorca on the road. Over under is 2. Juice is split both ways. I'm going to make sure that I don't miss this under, dropping to 1.75. And I like Mallorca as well. I'm looking to fade Real Betis as much as I can. I just don't think they're really any good. For my best bet on this episode, I'm going to, at least from Spain, we'll get to the ultimate best bet end of show when I collect all of these and cut them into 1 minute reel at the real_G Warner on Instagram and at the real_G Warner on YouTube. I'll go with that Rayo Vallecano under 2.25 of the Sunday night matchup in Spain. Moving now to Italy, to Serie A for Saturday. We have Venezia hosting Genoa. Currently, Venezia quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.25. Juice more to the under. Genoa got a lot of love coming into the season. Very low odds to be relegated, it seemed, or long odds, I guess is a better way to put it. Now they go on the road to a newly promoted who's looked horrible, has had no real offense to speak of. I think this is a big question for how Genoa will do this season because they sold a lot of talent this offseason. I don't trust Venezia, but I do lean to that under 2.25. Don't expect a lot of goals in that early one. Juve then hosts Napoli, Juventus against Napoli in Torino. Juve at a quarter goal favorite, excuse me, a little bit more juice at home. Over under is 2.25. Juice pretty heavily to under. Juve coming off the Champions League midweek. Napoli have nothing to do midweek. They're just hanging out, picking daisies, trying to figure out how to play under Antonio Conte. He's a great counterattacker and has had a lot of success. It's a very respectful number here, and I feel like the Serie A market is telling you something with that Napoli only being a quarter of a goal, basically calling them even to Juve, but they certainly have a better rest advantage. I lean under 2.25. So I think this is going to be another low-scoring match in Torino, which I think is also what Thiago Motta will bring to Juve, or is extended upon Juve, despite scoring a bunch of goals in the first few matches. We saw goalless against Empoli, goalless against Roma as well. I think we see a low-scoring match there, and that quarter might be valuable. Always believe in the Serie A hints with lines that are way too short on underdogs, I think. The nightcap on Saturday, surprisingly small matchup. Lecce hosting Parma. Currently, Lecce a quarter goal underdog. Or Lecce a quarter goal favorite with more juice at home. Over unders 2.5. Juice more to the under. Parma have looked great, but they can't keep 11 men on the field, on the pitch, and Parma just really are struggling and looking like a new team despite being not so long out of Serie A's top division. My interest here is to back them as a quarter goal underdog. I think they get their starting goalkeeper back, which will be huge. Lean to under 2.5 as well. A way to fade Lecce as well. Good home support, really good, especially when they travel. But I haven't seen anything from their offense so far this season. Moving to Sunday, Fiorentina, a quarter goal favorite at home to Lazio with all the juice. Over under is 2.25 with all the juice to over, all the juice on the Lazio side. Fiorentina got off to a really slow start. My good friend Francis had said that there was a sacking, a firing in Italy this week, and I was like, oh man, I hope it's not Fiorentina because it's possible they played so poorly. For that reason, I'm looking to bet against them. I like Lazio. They've looked good to start so far. I lean to under 2.25 as well as a way to potentially bet against the Fiorentina offense, though they did have a pretty high scoring match with Atalanta, which is certainly possible with a Gasperini side. But I think Lazio are in a good position, though certainly want to see what the lineups look like in this early lunchtime match in Italy on Sunday. Moving next to Monza hosting Bologna. Currently Monza quarter goal favorite. Wow. Quarter goal underdog at home, but favorite juice wise. So quarter goal underdog Monza with all the juice, potentially moving back towards Pick'em. Total is 2.25, juice very heavily to under. And that's for good reason. Bologna, we're not getting much respect in Champions League midweek. Got a goalless draw and saved the penalty early against who was it? Against Shakhtar Donetsk, the Ukrainian side. Monza have not done much really offensively, but were able to I think frustrate Inter Milan. And I think their defense is something I want to back. I don't know that I mean, I do like the quarter goal underdog because I like most underdogs at home. Should have a good boost from their crowd. I don't think Bologna will take that over with visitor support like you might see with the bigger clubs across Italy. But under 2.25 is very interesting. I also wouldn't probably hate an under 2 because at least you push if it lands 2. But I think there's a good chance we see very low scoring matches from Bologna as they try to figure out what that new style will be under a new manager who's offensive, but lost a ton of talent, poached and basically sent everywhere throughout Italy, including their manager. Roma then hosts Udinese. Currently, Roma 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 2.5. Juice very heavily to under. Apparently, the ultras are not showing up because Roma was sacked Daniele De Rossi, former player, and seemed pretty popular, but clearly was not getting on as there were a lot of rumors of him being moved on from, and then a late equalizer they conceded in their last matchup to draw, I guess was the final straw. Anyway, I like that setup for Udinese. I'd love to see them climb to a full goal of insurance because Roma have not really shown much this year. I think along those lines, like under 2.5. Last but not least, the Derby di Milan, or whatever we're calling it. I don't have the name in front of me. I probably should know that. Anyway, Inter hosting Milan. But really, it's a shared stadium in San Siro. I went to it twice last season, saw both of them play there. The Inter crowd was way more dialed in for a Champions League match than Milan were for Juventus. But at this point, Milan, a 3/4 goal underdog to Inter in their shared stadium. We'll have Inter fans there, though. It's not a 50-50 split like the Red River Shootout in my hometown of Dallas, or current hometown, I guess current town. Totals 2.75, just all the way to over. I mean, Milan have brought in AC Milan, that is, has brought in a very, very offensive coach, but that hasn't really taken yet, I don't think. Inter are much better. I think AC Milan will try to hold on for dear life in this one. I would love to see them get a full goal of insurance in their home stadium. That'd be wild, but I don't have it yet. And I'm very wary of fading Inter, even with one of the best teams in Italy. Biggest interest here is under 2.75, so I'd much rather have a push on 3. Probably going to wait and see what happens. Would imagine this will move towards 3, though. I don't know that I've seen it. Let's see in terms of lean tracking. I don't see a 3. It looks like a lot of money's coming in on over, though, so that does give at least a chance of it moving to 3 before kickoff on Sunday night in Italia. Also on Monday, last matchup of the week, we have Atalanta hosting Como. Currently, Atalanta a goal and a quarter favorite, coming off a big match with Arsenal during midweek. All the juice on Como right now. Over under is 2.75. Juice very heavily to over. I think we might see how deep Atalanta are. Gasperini does rotate a significant amount, but I don't think this is the deepest squad he's ever had. So I'm interested in Como getting that big number, but I think more interested in under 2.75 and potentially that 3 as well. Hoping for the Milan match and certainly that Atalanta match to hit 3. So you get a push there. Probably will look at it, but probably stay off if it's not there. As for my best bet in Italia, I'll go with that Monza under 2.75. I just don't really think that Bologna are going to score many goals this year, and I think it starts or continues on Sunday. 2 more leagues left to go before we wrap this baby up. Of course, any of you watching live, thank you. I really appreciate the support. If you have any comments, they can show up here. You might have to be on StreamYard where I'm doing this. I'm not sure. But thank you for watching, especially live. It's a little bit late night, but I actually have more energy than usual, probably because I just worked out and took a shower. That's probably what did it. But we'll move to Saturday. Lille hosting Strasbourg. Currently, Lille 3/4 goal favorite with more juice. Over unders 2.5. Juice all the way to over. Lille coming off Champions League, tough match on the road at Sporting Lisboa. Not a very long trip to Portugal from France, but ultimately still a trip. Now they're at home for Strasbourg. I thought impressed so far this season. My interests here are in potentially a Lille side that have been overvalued offensively because they were the Milan manager left Lille for Milan and was so aggressively attacking last season. I think that all plays in in addition to a Champions League match midweek. I think that all helps Strasbourg out. So I like that 3/4 of a goal, and I lean to under 2.5 in that one as well. Stade Rennais then host Lens in the next matchup on Saturday. We ran a quarter goal favorite. All the juice on the Lens on the road. Over under is 2.5, juice all the way to under. Now, Lens are different under Will Still than they were under Frank Heiss. And Rennes, I mean, they blew out Montpellier last weekend, but I'm not sure what that says. I still don't see this Rennes team as being as threatening or as dangerous or as great as they were. Maybe it was the peak a couple seasons ago when they had all the young talent, but Lens, this is a very respectful number here. And for that reason, I think I'm into it. So I'll put a quarter of a goal on my list. I don't think I want much to do with it under there, though, as I think Lens are certainly due to score less away from home and really will miss their home field advantage. But I just don't think that, I mean, Rennes want to outscore everyone. I think that no matter who their manager is. Moving to the Saturday nightcap, Stade Reims, the Champagne Country Club. They're hosting PSG coming off Champions League. Reims a 1.25 goal underdog at home with more juice. Over under is 3, juice all the way to over. I'm not really interested in fading PSG at this point, though I guess if I'm going to do it, it's when I'm getting more than a goal at home with a team off Champions League midweek. That's a feeble lean at best, but I guess I'll put that 1.25 on that list. Monaco then hosts Le Havre coming off a home match with Barcelona in Champions League. Le Havre certainly will be a little bit less of a draw. It might be an empty stadium considering it's usually pretty lethargic, I think. Monaco, a 1.25 favorite at home with all the juice. Over under is 3, juice very heavily to under. Le Havre are a defensive side. They are good at defending. They're not very good at scoring. I think that's going to be hard for them against Monaco, especially going on the road to Monaco, that the home field or home pitch environment is not that difficult. I think my interest here on Le Havre is under 3 as opposed to taking the 1.25, though certainly tired legs for Monaco potentially is a good setup for Le Havre, trying to stay in the league and Ligue for a second straight season, or for a third straight year at the end of this year. Montpellier then hosts Angers. Currently Montpellier a quarter goal favorite at home. All the juice on Angers. Over under is 2.75, juice all the way to over. Now Angers I thought played really aggressively against Monaco last week, just weren't able to score and then weren't able to protect their own net. I think they're in a good position to go against Montpellier. I lean to that quarter of goal on the road team, certainly, and a little bit less to the under 2.75. Montpellier look like they're in big trouble. I mean, I think they only had 5 outfield players on their bench last week. That's not great in a very early set match of this season. I want to make sure I don't lose that quarter of a goal. So hopefully the Montpellier money will continue to roll in. Moving next to Angers hosting Nantes. Currently Angers a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under is 2.25, juice very heavily to under, and that's how it should be. Nantes are off to a great start, but I don't really trust them necessarily, that offense and a very defensive manager. Don't really trust Angers because they haven't looked like their Liga level coming up from Ligue 2 last season. So lean to under 2.25 in that matchup. Moving next to Stade Brestois hosting Toulouse. Currently Brest a quarter goal favorite with all the juice coming off their Champions League maybe debut, or at least I don't think anyone expected Brest to make it to Champions League, but good for them. Over under is 2.5, and it is juiced very heavily to under. I just don't think Brest are going to score a lot of goals this year, so I lean that way. Toulouse is also on my list, especially getting to fade Brest coming off Champions League. I think is a big deal. Like that quarter goal and like under 2.5. And last but not least, I believe this is Le Olympique. Because Le Classique is Marseille and PSG. Anyway, Lyon host Marseille, and Lyon a quarter goal underdog at home with more juice. Over under is 3 with more juice. A lot of respect from Marseille. Certainly De Zerbi has proven he knows what he's doing, whether it was at Sassuolo or Shakhtar Donetsk or Brighton Hove Albion in England, whom he left for Marseille this season. With that said, I think the Lyon crowd is a big deal. If they're supporting them, that's the biggest question. Total's tough in this one, so I'll put Lyon quarter goal underdog at home on my list. And for my best bet from Ligue 2 or Ligue 1, excuse me, it feels like Ligue 2 at times, but Ligue 1, I'll go with Angers, a quarter goal underdog on the road at Montpellier. And last but not least, I'll go to the German Bundesliga. Then I'll chop this all into a 1-minute video, get you a best bet from each of the leagues and Ultimate Best Bet, which I'll put at the real_G Warner on Instagram and on YouTube. And of course, if you want to just fast forward at the end, if you're on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, you can certainly do that. Or if you're listening to the full video on YouTube as well. Oh man, I forgot to, dang it. I was supposed to post that I was doing this live on, on on Twitter, but I did not do that. So I guess it's up there now. And unfortunately, as I get to the last league, as of course I clicked the wrong button. That's what put us there. But anyway, okay, just a quick little setback. Oops, I'll be a little bit better about that next time. And of course, as more people come on to watch it live. If you got any comments, feel free to throw them in here and I'll read them if I see them. But now in the German Bundesliga for the last league to cover, of course, you can rewind and see everything. Plus, I'll be uploading all this stuff before the night is over. Hopefully, Werder Bremen hosts Bayern München in the opener on Saturday, or at least the big window of openers on Saturday in the German Bundesliga. Werder Bremen, a 1.5 goal underdog at home. More juice on Bayern. Over/under is 3.5. Juice is split both ways. My biggest interest and only interest in this one is the under 3.5, but that's really just hoping that Werder Bremen do not score and that Bayern do not, I guess maybe some weary legs catch up with them from Champions League midweek. I don't know. That's a very weak lean at best. Moving next to Heidenheim was in Sport Club Freiburg. And unfortunately, as I wear the kit of, or the tricot of Vincenzo Grifo, the guy I supported because his name is close to mine. I like Heidenheim. They're a pick 'em at home, getting odds right now. All the juice on Freiburg. Over/under is 2 3/4. Juice more to the under. Heidenheim, I'm waiting to see them move to a quarter goal underdog and lean to the under here as well. I mean, the Julian Schuster I guess life has started out very well for Freiburg, but I'm just not necessarily a believer that that will continue. Tough road trip here. Heidenheim, no respect really for them in the marketplace for them to be a home underdog. The Freiburg, even though Freiburg's off to a good start, though I guess a loss to Bayern wasn't great, and I think they kind of struggled with Bochum as well. Moving next to Union Berlin hosting TSG Hoffenheim. Currently Union a half a goal favorite at home. All the juice on Hoffenheim on the road. Over under is 2 3/4 and is juiced slightly more to under than to over. This is a huge pitting matchup of the most defensive team you could think of and the leakiest defense for a good team in the German Bundesliga. So a lot going different ways. I'm very surprised to see Union a half a goal favorite. I think my biggest interest in this matchup is to bet Hoffenheim a half a goal underdog. It's very juiced at the moment, might fall to a quarter, but I still like it now. Also lean to under 2 3/4 because I think when the home favorite is not one I'm expecting to score, maybe at all. That certainly would guarantee a play on a half a goal underdog because they keep a clean sheet, you win your bet. Also would help for the under as well. But also I feel like would be a nice way if you play Hoffenheim and you play under. I guess if Union score a ton of goals is a huge shootout and Union win, then you lose both. But I think there's a good chance that you win both, or if Union are able to win, it still stays under because that's the match they want to play. They're going to play very defensively under Bo Svensson, assuming he's on the pitch this week after missing last week with an illness. But his staff is going to play the same way. So that's my biggest interest in that one. Half of the goal underdog, but I like under as well. Moving next to Bochum hosting Holstein Kiel. Currently, Bochum a half a goal favorite with all the juice on Kiel right now away from home. Over under is 3. Juice is split both ways. Ooh, this is tough because Kiel were just massacred early. Yikes! As everything decides to fall off my. Well, fortunately, I was able to catch that. No injuries. No animals have been hurt in the filming of this podcast. But I'm gonna grab, or I guess, do I want to grab? So Bochum, I can't even remember the last time they've been a favorite at home. Never mind a half a goal favorite. But of course, getting a recently promoted club will certainly help with that. In terms of the total, 3 feels gigantic. I don't trust Bochum to score. I think it's important push number on 3, and I think Holstein Kiel, who have been so close getting into the Bundesliga, finally get there and get smashed by Bayern. One of the new guys who I'd never really heard speak on English versions of the German Bundesliga coverage was saying how there are some people in I guess it's Kiel is the town or Holstein Kiel is I don't know which is the town in northern Germany, wherever that's located. were saying that they might be able to beat Bayern. But that was a joke, and was literally answered in the first 19 seconds. And Jamal Musiala was able to score. But I think this is a potential. I mean, it's about as buy low of a spot as you can find, unless everyone's just completely ignoring a Bayern result at home. But I don't think they are. I think under 3 is my biggest interest in that one. As we move to the top spiel, the big Saturday night matchup, and that's Eintracht Frankfurt. They are hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently, Eintracht Frankfurt, the 3-quarter goal favorite at home. On a probably bad pitch, getting ready for the NFL. Over under is 3.25, and it's just slightly more to under. Gladbach have been a good home team, but really didn't. I thought they played very well last weekend and still didn't get a result at home against Stuttgart. Now they're going on the road where they've been horrible, and unfortunately, I just don't know that the Seoane style is ever going to work. It didn't work with Leverkusen, though certainly it was a different club and different roster than Xabi Alonso has had, but not a great sign. I don't know what to do this one. Frankfurt, I don't think is that strong of a favorite, though Ikatike has been coming on. Sheesh. I don't know what to do with this one. I'll probably do nothing with it. Unfortunately, in the top spiel, as I'd love to bet it. Moving to Sunday, we have Leverkusen hosting Wolfsburg, coming off their Champions League most recent debut. Leverkusen a 1.5 favorite with all the juice. Over unders 3.25, just more to the under. Pretty big price. Leverkusen have been very fortunate, and Wolfsburg under Ralf Hasenhüttl. He's made it pretty clear that they're going to fight really hard. He talked about how fucking, excuse me, my French, but how fucking fit his team was against Bayern München in the opener. We'll see how fit they are, but Leverkusen, I mean, they had a blowout win on the road in Holland, but that's a lot of travel, and it's a Champions League match, one that Wolfsburg didn't play midweek. So I think that all kind of points in the same direction. And I like under 3.25 in that matchup, as I just don't really trust Wolfsburg to score, which does make it a little bit hairier, because unfortunately in blowouts, then unders are very much an endangered species. But if they're not contributing to the scoreboard, I think it's going to be hard to see 4 goals all from Leverkusen, but they certainly can do it, are capable of it. Moving next to Stuttgart hosting Borussia Dortmund. Big matchup. Stuttgart both coming off Champions League matches, but Stuttgart have not been there before and had to go to the Bernabeu in Madrid to face Real Madrid. Probably the hardest draw you could have as an opener. I'm sure they were thanking UEFA for that one. But Stuttgart a 1/4 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Dortmund on the road. Over under is 3.5. Juice all the way to under. Now Dortmund have been a really defensive side in the Champions League, but have been very leaky defensively in a much worse competition than the German Bundesliga. I think that's based on strategy and the differences between the two, and probably why they have a new manager. But Stuttgart, a 1/4 goal favorite to Dortmund. I mean, it's expecting a lot. They have to win. A result's not good enough. That will pay out Dortmund. For that reason, I like that 1/4 goal. I lean to under 3.5 as well. Potentially, I think really hoping that Dortmund are more seasoned with Champions League, and that might help them in this matchup. Last but not least, and last match that I'll cover on this episode before getting the ultimate best bet end of show. St. Pauli, a 1-goal underdog at home with all the juice to RB Leipzig. Currently over under is 2.75. She's almost all the way to over, pretty much. Leipzig, I haven't trusted to score goals. It's a big reason why I didn't bet them or really any of their match on the road at Atletico Madrid. St. Pauli have looked good, but their football has been pretty, but they haven't been finding the net much. So that's a problem. Big underdog at home, especially when Leipzig have been a lot worse over the years away from home, but Leipzig have been less dominant at home and their road performances have been better. So I think my biggest interest here, I love the full goal of insurance. So that +1 is nice. I think I like under 2.75 even more, especially if that climbs to a full 3 before kickoff. In the late matchup, as we have 3 on Sunday in the German Bundesliga. So that'll do it for this episode, but stick around. Ultimate Best Bet is coming. Of course, please follow or subscribe to the channel. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. It's huge for the search rankings and will reward my fellow co-hosts and I. We're trying to figure out scheduling a new day to come back with a Major League Baseball podcast, but NFL is out with at @A_Schnicker. College basketball is coming soon with Big East Ben, who I'm doing college football podcast with through pregame. Major League Baseball is still going on at pregame as well. And of course, looking out for anything over there. But check out my Patreon, patreon.com/real_G Warner. Best spot for all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything across all sports. Get them all in one place. Turn on notifications, get a buzz every time I lock something in, so you get the price I get. Make sure you check that out, patreon.com/real_G Warner. So now it is time for the ultimate best bet. I need to get my camera ready. It's only been 44 minutes. That's like a record timeline. Sorry, I gave people less time to get on here, I guess, but it is what it is. And I guess I'm in low battery mode, but I'm still like doing all right, I think, in this podcast potentially getting out. So we're doing well. Let's try to find some winners. Okay, I've already circled who I've picked across the 5 top European soccer leagues. So I guess let's get into that ultimate best bet. Hey, this is a real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet for the Friday, September 20th through the 23rd episode, whatever match day, Jornata or Jornata is. What I do on this show is I go through every betting line available in the top 5 European soccer leagues: England, Spain, Italy, France, and Germany. Come out with my best bet from each of the leagues, and I give you a winner at the end, and then you can grade this podcast on. You can follow me at the real_G Warner, Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. And please check out Patreon so you get all my picks across all sports. From England, I like Crystal Palace under 3 goals. In La Liga, I like Rayo Vallecano under 2.25. In Serie A in Italy, I like Monza under 2.25. In Ligue in France, I like Angers getting a quarter of a goal. And in the German Bundesliga, I like Hoffenheim getting a half of a goal. But for my ultimate best bet in this episode, I'm going to go with Crystal Palace under 3 goals. Don't believe in Manchester United. Don't believe in Crystal Palace so far this season. Expect to see very few goals, and I love that push on 3. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in live on Friday night. And of course, for all your love, affection, comments, and followers. Got a new Patreon subscriber day, Lan Zhang. Thank you for coming in, and looking forward to a long, profitable relationship. Of course, check out patreon.com/real_G Warner, and check out the feed, subscribe, betting the pitch across the Apple and Spotify platforms, and then at the real_G Warner everywhere else you get your podcast. Thanks so much for joining, and I'll see you all in the Champions League or Europa League or whatever midweek coming up next week.